Gia Marie Carangi was born on January 29, 1960, in Philadelphia to an Italian-American father, Joseph, who owned a tiny restaurant called Hoagie City. Her mother, Kathleen Carangi, was a homemaker. Carangi's parents separated in 1971. Those close to Carangi, including herself, have admitted that this divorce had a lasting impact on her attitude. Her two brothers, both older than her, moved out and lived with their mom while Carangi stayed with her father. She spent her summers behind his counter, attending concerts like your run-of-the-mill high schooler. It was in the summer of 1978 that a local photographer and hairdresser, Maurice Tannenbaum, asked the dark-haired beauty to pose on the dance floor after spotting her at a local nightclub. Carangi's dark, tomboyish looks, 34-24-35 measurements, and perfect face were an ideal match for the fashion world, which at the time was overrun with willowy blondes. Gia Carangi's first photo shoot at the Philadelphia nightclub, back when she was just 16, was the beginning of her meteoric rise to stardom, and life only moved faster once she moved to New York. Carangi signed with Wilhelmina Cooper, a legendary fashion agent and owner of her own modeling agency. Wilhelmina became a kind of mother figure to Carangi. Her androgynous look was in part due to her sexuality, described in some instances as aggressive and others as vulnerable. Carangi seemed to have a need to be loved, and mostly by women. Those who had worked with her said it wasn't uncommon for her to fall in love with the models she shot with. On a shoot for photographer Chris von Wangenheim, which would become wildly popular, Carangi posed nude up against a fence with makeup artist and model Sandy Linter. Indeed, Gia Carangi appeared insatiable, both in her love life and in her recreational drug use. As a teen, she was already hooked on marijuana, cocaine, and Quaaludes. Carangi went on to model for Christian Dior, Giorgio Armani, Versace, Diane von Furstenberg, Q-Tex, Lancetti, Levi's, Maybelline, Vidal Sassoon, and Yves Saint Laurent. At the age of 18, Carangi was making $100,000 a year. It was more than any other model at the time, leading many fashion historians to dub her the world's first supermodel. But there was also a deep loneliness in her, returning to her apartment alone after work and constantly searching for love. In 1980, Wilhelmina died and sent Carangi into a spiral. Already using heroin, the supermodel delved deeper into her habit. During a shoot that year for Vogue with famed portrait photographer Richard Avedon, Carangi escaped through a window. Though incensed, the magazine gave her a second chance at the shoot, but when the pictures came back, they revealed track marks and red bumps all over the model's arms. In 1981, she was arrested for driving under the influence of a narcotic. In May of that same year, 21-year-old Carangi needed to get hand surgery because she had injected herself in the same place so many times that there was an open, infected tunnel leading into her vein. For her final Cosmo cover photo in early 1982, fashion photographer Scavullo covered up the track marks on her arms by having her put her hands behind her back. The dress she wore was poofy enough to cover up the scars of her habit. The model also angled her face to cover up the bloating. Gia Carangi left her modeling agency, tried to stay afloat at another, but wound up returning home to Philadelphia to live with her mother at a final grasp at finding sobriety. In the fall of 1986, Carangi was hospitalized. It became apparent that she had been sleeping outside in the rain and had been badly beaten up and raped. Blood tests showed she was suffering from AIDS-related complications. On November 26, 1986, America's first supermodel died of those complications, though her mother was by her side.